Hey everyone, I just wanted to talk to the builders and the pioneers and the new era that is rising right now for the kingdom. Those that are on the front lines and the forefront. Maybe you have been doing bloodline deliverance over your family, bringing and establishing order back into your family, bringing the altar of the Lord back over your home, your family, your church, your ministry. Maybe you're an intercessor and you are interceding on behalf of generations, that are here and that are coming. Anything to do with legacy. And also, if you are a builder for that, how much opposition and warfare you have been facing or will face if you are called to that. Because we are in a time of establishing and rebuilding the foundations and, just becoming that remnant for the Lord. And so he has been downloading a lot of blueprints for some of us to build that is going to bring the kingdom into more places, that maybe you're building a business that is going to have influence for the kingdom. Maybe you're building a ministry that is going to go to the highways and the byways and evangelize. Maybe you have a tent ministry that's bringing revivals to every city. Maybe you are just really on fire for God and really at a point in your life that you want to just wholeheartedly serve him and establish something that has never been done before in your family, in your bloodline, or in the kingdom. Maybe you're carrying unique blueprints that, has never been seen before, never been done before, and you are, in a sense, outside of that box. You're outside of that, religious box. You're outside of that, the four walls even, and you know that you're called to something different, but what you carry is going to bring just great impact and a harvest of souls for the kingdom of God. So that one of the temptations that you're going to face as a builder and as a pioneer who's building something that has never been done before, paving a way that's never been paved before, is to compromise or settle for less than what God has asked you to do for him. Maybe there's a temptation to settle for just a regular job, settle for just serving in the background of another ministry or church. But God has already told you that he's called you to build something with him and to use you and your voice and your mantle to reach people that other people can't reach. So you're going to be tempted to settle. You're going to be tempted to stay hidden, to stay in the background, to stay kind of stagnant and complacent and not move forward with, everything that God is asking you to risk. It's going to take a risk. It's going to cost you. And that's the thing that people don't, they don't want. It's not comfortable. So anything that is gonna cost you something, anything that's gonna cause you to have to sacrifice your comfort for your calling and to be refined for that calling. He's stripping things away that can't go with you into that calling. He is, purifying you, purifying your voice, purifying your identity. Anything like that is not gonna feel comfortable. It's not going to feel good to count the cost, to pay the cost of, all that you are chosen to do for the Lord. There's going to be times you want to give up. There's going to be times that you want to settle and just go back to, the easy, mediocre life. You want to go back to the comfortability. Where you didn't have to get, attacked so much in warfare. You didn't have so much opposition coming against you, where you could just have a normal day-to-day life. But if you are truly chosen and you truly want to make a difference in your lifetime and build legacy that's going to outlive you, outlast you, be passed down for generations to come, which is what the devil hates and why he comes against you so hard, you're going to have to stay stay on your post. You're going to have to stand your ground for the kingdom and for Jesus. And so you're going to have a heavy calling. You're going to have a weighty assignment. And I think about, just for an example, sometimes you're picking up a mantle of somebody else that isn't here anymore. Sometimes you're picking up an assignment and a legacy that maybe others have passed on to you. Maybe it was a family member. Like for me, my dad passed away in February and went with the Lord, but he left a legacy for me to pick up and for me to continue to carry the assignments, and the legacy that he started. But it was his time to go with the Lord. So now I have, now I'm a part of his legacy to continue carrying it on. And the story of Moses is a good example to think about when, there's leaders or there's others that have started the assignments, started with the mantles and carried, built this legacy. They began the building, but they didn't complete it. They left what, they had to leave when it was their time to go on. So like Moses, he started and he was the leader of the Israelites. He was leading them to the promised land, but he never actually entered the promised land. He never actually got to go to the promised land because he, died in the wilderness with some of the other Israelites. So just because he began didn't mean that he was going to be the one that finished that. Even if that person was called to, and it ended up, their era ended up ending, their time and their season and their era ended up ending. So then that mantle, that legacy, that blueprint is being passed on to the next generation, to the new era of leaders. In a sense, a younger generation that is following behind them, that was following their leadership, that was going to continue to build and complete the work in their lifetime, and then pass on to the next generation from there. And so when he passed on and that era ended with Moses, Joshua and Caleb ended up leading the rest of the Israelites into the promised land. They picked up the assignment. They picked up the blueprints. They picked up the mantles, and they kept running their own race with that assignment. They kept running their own race with that assignment, and they carried on with courage and boldness and ferocity to go into the promised land and take the land. And so maybe you're in a position like that. I mean, we could look around and see that some people have passed on and mantles have been passed down, and we're just in a season where, God is giving us the opportunity, many of us, to pick those up, to pick up that blueprint or build what he's asking us to build for the first time, to be a leader of that in order to leave it for the next generation, after our time is up. And so it's bigger than us. It's a serious calling. And just because, somebody started and didn't finish doesn't mean that you can't pick that up and keep going with it, or doesn't mean that you can't be the first one to do something and carry that to completion, or until your time is up, and then the next generation will carry what you started to completion, and so on and so on. So it is always going to be better if we choose to pay the cost, make the sacrifice, go all the way with the Lord, get rid of the distractions, turn down the Ishmaels that come as counterfeit assignments, counterfeit alignments to distract us, to cause us to settle for less than what God has for us. It might sound good, it might look good, but if it's not what God is asking of you, you have to obey what the Lord has asked of you. You have to be obedient with what the Lord has given you to do, your assignment, your legacy, with the right alignments that he's going to send into your life. So I just wanted to share that. It's been something that, I'm doing in my own life right now with the Lord, and just something that I know many others are facing a lot of opposition, a lot of warfare, because you are carrying something that is so great and for the glory of God. So keep going with it.
you.